I didn't mean to overhear her. I wish I hadn't. If I had left the office 10 minutes later, if the traffic lights hadn't all turned green, if the rain hadn't stopped me outside the door for those few seconds, I might have never known what my wife truly thought of me. But fate, it seems, wanted me to know. The night it happened, I came home earlier than usual. My meeting in Karachi had been cancelled, and I thought it would be a nice surprise. I even stopped by her favorite bakery to pick up a box of cream puffs, the kind she loved but pretended not to eat because she was watching her diet. The house lights were dim. I thought she might be resting. But then I heard her laugh. It came from the living room. Soft, melodic, the kind of laugh I used to fall in love with. Only this time, it was followed by a man's voice. I froze near the hallway, the cream puffs trembling in my hand. It wasn't what you might think. There wasn't the kind of laughter that hinted at something physical. It was worse. It was the sound of two people who shared secrets. I took a careful step closer. The door was half open. I could see her sitting cross-legged on the couch, phone pressed to her ear. Her hair tucked behind her ear the way she always did when she was nervous or shy. She was smiling. But it wasn't a smile I recognized. Then I heard her say my name. Rizwan. He means well, but he's just not the man I thought I married. My heart stuttered. I stood perfectly still, my breath locked in my throat. She continued, her voice low and honest. Too honest. He's kind, sure, but he's boring. Predictable. Always working, always worrying. It's like he doesn't even know how to live anymore. I feel like I'm suffocating sometimes. The man on the other end laughed softly. I could almost hear his voice, muffled but familiar. You deserve better, Sarah. She didn't deny it. She just sighed, a long, tired sigh that cut me in half. Sometimes I wonder if I married him because I loved him, or because I thought he was safe. The words echoed inside me like thunder in an empty hall. I didn't walk in. I didn't shout. I didn't demand an explanation. I just stood there, invisible, listening to my wife dismantle our life one sentence at a time. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't cruel. That made it worse. Because she meant every word. By the time she hung up, I had already turned away. The cream puffs slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a dull thud, leaving white cream smeared across the tile. I remember staring at them, thinking how absurd it was. How something made to bring sweetness could spill out like that, ruined in an instant. That was us. Ruined in an instant. I didn't leave that night. Couldn't. I lay next to her in bed later, pretending to sleep as she typed messages on her phone. Every vibration of her device against the blanket was a dagger. At one point, she reached over and brushed my hair back gently. It took everything in me not to flinch. "Good night," she whispered. I wanted to ask her why, but the words died in my throat. Because I already knew the answer, at least the one that mattered. She didn't love me anymore. Maybe she hadn't for a while. The next morning I left for work early. I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours, staring at the steering wheel. I thought of everything we'd built. 5 years of marriage, shared laughter, quiet dinners, small arguments, lazy Sundays. Had all of it been a lie? No, I decided. It wasn't. There was love once. It was real. But love can rot quietly, without either person noticing until the smell fills the room. That weekend I came home with a plan. I made her breakfast. Did normal. I wanted to see if she'd notice the difference, if guilt would flicker behind her eyes. But she was calm, too calm. She talked about the grocery list, about maybe going to Murray for the holidays, about us. And I realized then that she had already made peace with what she'd said. Her betrayal wasn't physical. It was emotional, and maybe that was worse. Because you can forgive a mistake of passion. But how do you forgive someone for falling out of love and hiding it behind routine smiles? That night she went out to meet a friend. I didn't ask which one. I didn't ask who she'd be with. Already knew. Her phone had lit up earlier that day with a message from Adil. The name I'd heard faintly through her call. When she left, I didn't follow. I didn't need to. I knew where she'd go. Instead, I packed a small suitcase. Just clothes, documents, and a few photos. Mostly of my parents and my younger self, before the years had carved quiet disappointment into my face. I wrote her a note. Short, honest. I heard what you said, Sarah. You don't owe me explanations. You were right, I stopped living somewhere along the way. I just didn't realize that meant I'd lose you. I'm not angry. But I can't stay where I'm no longer wanted. Riz 1. I left the key on the table beside the ruined box of cream puffs I'd never cleaned up. They'd hardened by then, stale, forgotten, just like us. As I closed the door behind me, I didn't look back. Not once. The first few days were unbearable. The silence was the worst part. You don't realize how much of your life is shaped by another person's presence until it's gone. The sound of her hairdryer in the morning, the way she hummed while folding clothes, the click of her heels on the floor. Now it was just me and the hum of an old ceiling fan. I thought about calling her so many times, to ask if she missed me, to see if she regretted it. But every time my finger hovered over her contact, I remembered her voice that night. He's just safe. I didn't want to be safe anymore. I wanted to be free. Weeks passed. She didn't call. Neither did I. Mutual friends reached out asking what happened. I just told them we needed space. Then one afternoon I got an email from her. It wasn't long. Riz 1. I don't know if you'll read this, but I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. What I said that night wasn't supposed to reach you. It was me venting, confused and tired. You were good to me. Maybe too good. Hope you find peace. Sarah. I read it 3 times, waiting for something inside me to move. But it didn't. Because forgiveness isn't always about giving someone another chance. It's about letting go of the weight they left behind. So I archived the email. Didn't reply. Months later, I ran into her by accident at a friend's gathering. She looked different. Quieter, thinner, her laughter more restrained. We talked politely, like strangers pretending to remember how to be familiar. At one point she said softly, "You really left without looking back, didn't you?" Smiled. I had to. If I looked back, I'd never have left. Her eyes welled up, but she nodded. You were always stronger than I gave you credit for. Maybe that was her way of saying goodbye. It's been almost a year now. I live in Lahore, working at a smaller firm, traveling more often. Sometimes when I walk past a bakery and smell the sweetness of cream and sugar, I think of that night. The box on the floor. Her laughter. The way my world cracked open without a sound. But then I remember what followed. The quiet, the healing, the rediscovery of myself. I don't hate her. She taught me the most painful, necessary lesson. Love without honesty is just habit. And when habit turns into silence, you have 2 choices. Stay and die quietly inside or walk away and start breathing again. Chose to breathe. And I never looked back.